So if it is my favorite, you might wonder why it's so late in the course. It's really easy to spend hours and hours just making weird sounds, and then you get done with your session and you don't have a whole lot to show for it. So in my past, if I could help myself along a little bit faster, I would have myself work more on music composition, getting the arrangement, having something really inspiring to come back to before I focus on spending 2 hours on making some sound that you come back to and you're just not really inspired by in comparison to like a whole song. So what are effects used for? We are going to be changing how the sound sounds, which means we're changing the timbre. Timbre is a technical term that we use in music production, music, to define the characteristic of a sound. Some words that we use to describe timbre are like buzzy, smooth, round, reedy, brassy. They're like not super technical terms that we use to describe timbre, so you can get creative there, which is cool. And to change the timbre, we can alter the frequency content, add harmonics, and add distortion, among other things. We can control the dynamics, how loud and soft, the range between loud and soft between sounds. We can create a sense of space with reverb and other effects, make it feel like it's in a room. And we can add effects and make weird and interesting sounds. So I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm going to make something really quick in Ableton, and then show you how to each built-in plugin, and then show you how to use each VST that I'm going to recommend you get. Let's see, cursor. Let me get my cursor up so you can see this better. So here are all the built-in Ableton effects that we're going to be going over, and here are all of the kilohertz effects that I'm going to have you download, and I'm going to go over those. So let's get into Ableton. Alright, I have a blank project here. I'm going to use some samples out of the Chop and Swing pack that you have downloaded. Let's see what we can come up with real quick. Oh, this needs to be out of Boom. Down a little bit. Oh, that sounds nice. Oh, I'm feeling like a drum and bass thing with this. Let's stretch this out. The end here. I gotta have on warp mode down here in order to stretch it. I hold shift. I don't know if you can see. There's like a little. Oh, it's not gonna let me hold shift. There's like a little triangle that shows up at the top here when you hold down shift, and you can stretch an audio only to a certain length, but that's super useful. So if I stretch it a lot, we can get some really cool sounds like that, but I just wanted this to complete the 4 bars. Cool. Then I'm going to duplicate this, highlighting all of them from the top info bar here. holding Shift to highlight all of them, then Command D to duplicate. I'm going to bring the loop bar, so this is all 8 bars are looping. Engage the looper up here. I don't like the way that this is kind of like getting softer at the end, so I'm going to drag this out just a little more. You gotta let go of the mouse before the Shift key. There we go. I like that better. Alright, let's get some drums. So I'm in loops. I typed in loops up here, and that's giving me loops and chords. And where are the drums? Full loops. These are all gonna sound really sick. Let's see. And doesn't look like this is in Warp. If you go to your settings and we go to Warp, record Warp launch, you can choose to have the Warp automatically on when you bring samples in or not. And that is, do we see it? Warp function, unwarped, auto warp, long samples, create. Where is it? Somewhere in here you can choose to have warp automatically on when you bring in. The default is to have it on warp. Let's see, file, auto warp, create. I'm sure it's right in front of me. I don't see it. Maybe it's this one. I don't think so. Unwarped, one shot. That might be it. Loop, warp, short samples. Warped, one shot, warp, loop, warp, auto. Yeah, that's probably it right there. I think it used to look different. All right, let's get back to work. So I double-clicked this down here. I turned on warp, and now you'll see it wasn't quite the right tempo. So if I drag this, it's going to make that an 8-bar loop now. But I want to make it twice as fast. So I'm holding Shift, which allows me to change the time stretch it. That's pretty cool. I kind of like the halftime better. You know, and you can... These all sound pretty good. Let's see how this one is. Oh, that's the exact tempo. Oh, wait, but warp is now on. That's crazy. I don't know. They both sound good. Okay, moving on. Let's do one more thing in here, maybe some bass. Music loops, bass loops. Alright, this'll do, I guess. And we need to get this at... I just took the pitch down 4. I got a little lucky there that it was 4. Boom. Yeah, go up, boom. Go up 7 from there. It's the 5th. Boom. Click on pitch. Then I use the arrow keys. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, too early. 1, 2, 3. And then duplicate this. Yeah, it's cool enough. Okay, so now let's start checking out these effects. So our first one that we're going to check out is EQ. So EQ, short for equalizer. We can equalize the frequencies that are there, and you can be working with EQ in many different bands. So let's take a look at what that is. The one that comes with light is EQ3. And it's going to be an audio effects, EQ3. Cool. So this gives us 3 options, low, mid, and high, which is a great place to start. We also have some cuts here. Let's see. The crossover is going to set what our low is taking care of. So low is 250 and below, but we can change that. Oh, that's cool. And if you double click any parameter, it's going to go back to its original with the stock Ableton plugin. So if I want to take care of a low, but maybe less, like 200, so now I can turn the lows on and off. And I'm going to make a group, so I'm going to hit Shift and highlight all of these. I'm going to hit Command G to group these. You could also right click and group tracks here, and you see all the hotkeys here on the side. So I'm going to bring in the EQ3 and demonstrate how I can change, just like a DJ mixer. We can change the tonal quality. If I bring in a spectrum, here, spectrum, you can take a look at what this might look like with the frequency content here. You see the low frequencies here are completely gone. You can take the highs out, and we can change what the highs are and what the lows are, narrowing that band. So we have 3 bands. This is what we call it. And then the 24/48 is going to show how much these are taken care of, like how much gain reduction you get in those bands. So you can clearly hear with it on, with it off. We have so much we can do just with 3 different bands of changing the tonal characteristics of each sound. So you could throw this on for like a little break, and then when you let it go back in, you have a lot more energy. It's a good transition. Lots of things you can do there. Maybe I didn't really like the sound of these keys, and I want them to be more it's like your mouth when you talk. It's going from like we can close the frequencies from high to low just with our mouth by going E to oo. Let's check out the next one, compressor. So compressor is going to help us take down any sound. It's going to compress them. It just means that the volume's going to get lower. So if we go to compressor, dynamics, load in compressor. This is a really cool visualizer. Down at the bottom you can choose different ones. I really like this one over to the right because you can see the sound go across. Then the threshold you can actually grab onto here. And so threshold is when it's initiating the compressor, when it's turning down the sound. When it's at 0, we're not touching it. When you lower it down, we start to lower the sound, and what's really cool is you can see this yellow is by how much. It's like an inverse shape of the actual sound wave. So why would we want to use this? So if I can record in my, I don't think I'm going to be able to record in my voice. But when I talk, we have a lot of like inconsistencies of like loud and soft sounds. So definitely we can see here in the drums that we have like louder and softer sounds. And if we want them to be, if we want to lower the loud sounds and keep the softer ones soft, we can do that here. So if I put a compressor on here and I solo the drums and I turn off the EQ that was on the group, so we can see down here that there are louder and softer parts. The kick and the snare are louder than the hi-hats, but maybe I want them all even. That's going to help even out the sound. Then maybe I want to raise up all of the sound. You can change how fast it comes in to turn down the sound and how fast you release the turn down the sound. There's a really funny meme about compression with your mom in the room. Let's see, compression, mom, meme. Okay, here we go. The compressor is like your mother. The threshold, the level she asks you to turn down the music. So at what point are we going to have to turn down the music? The ratio, how much you have to turn it down by. The attack, how fast I react to turning down the sound, and release, how fast I turn the volume back up as soon as she closes the door. That's funny. All right, there's a compressor. Delay. Love the delay. Audio effects. Delay. And this is what I put it on. No, what did I put it on? I'll put it back on the drums. Sounds like an echo, right? We have different settings here. You can change the rhythm of the beat repeat. You can delay the right and the left channel, which is cool. You can turn off sync and do custom times. It's a good time to mention that you can hit A if you're not in keyboard mode, because if you're in keyboard mode, Ableton's going to think you're playing like a C on the keyboard, on the piano keyboard. We turn this off, and now you have all sorts of hotkeys. Like if I press H, this kind of expands and retracts the height of the tracks. But A is going to turn on and off automation mode. So if I turn A on, we see these little red lines. Then all I have to do is click on a parameter, like maybe this time, and I can draw in a little point. So that sounded pretty cool, right? Let me go back. And we get crazy, but I could automate the dry wet, how much of the effect is there, right? If we look down here, we see things moving. All right, that's delay. I love delay. Reverb. This is, everything has reverb. Every space in real life, that's not in space, has reverb. Sounds travel through the air, but not technically, because they're actually vibrating the molecules in between you and the sound source. But it's easy to conceptualize it that the sound is moving through the air, hits objects, comes back to your ears. So you hear the original sound source from the source, and then you also hear it hitting all the walls around you. So reverb is a way that we can generate that in the computer. So here is some reverb. We have dry, wet. We have all sorts of options. Room size, small room, huge room. Pre-delay is going to delay how much time it takes for the reverb to turn on, which is good if you want to hear that, like maybe someone's singing. You hear them sing first, then the reverb pops in after they're done. That's like really drastic at 250 milliseconds. Then we've got a filter of the types of frequencies of the reverb. Diffusion network. Let's see, you can read about that here. It's how the sounds release over time. Anyway, here we go. There's reverb. Next, chorus. Let's hear some chorus. Let's do it on the piano. Chorus. Is this the one you have, chorus ensemble? Cool. So this is duplicating the instance of the sound, and we can get a really nice stereo sound if the width is all the way up, or we can keep it mono at 0. Or we can even go to 200. We have a rate. That sounds really cool. That's too much. All sorts of cool stuff we can do here. We have wet, dry again. Warmth. If you want to know what anything does, just look in your info view over here. All right, next. See, I'm resisting the urge to just make weird sounds for another 20 minutes. Phaser. I do like that. Let's check out the phaser now. So here we have an EQ changing what frequencies are there in a dynamic way, kind of like your mouth again going. There's all sorts of different things that you can change in here. The rate, the spread between the stereo spread, your centered frequency, how many notches. Oh, that sounds cool. We also have a flanger. And a doublet. Far out. Okay, moving on. Flanger, went over that, good. Auto filter. It's gonna be kind of like the phaser. Oh, that's not what I want. Auto filter. I just deleted that. Alright, here's the auto filter. So this works like an EQ. And actually, this is going to be a really cool way to get a more dynamic EQ in Ableton Lite without, it is like one band though, but you can get more precise in which frequencies you're modulating here. And on like a Pioneer DJ mixer, you have the filter as well. So we have the resonance, goes how much up that peak frequency is, the frequency, which frequency it is. We also have an LFO, so we can automate this. So it's like it's going like this on its own. It's kind of cool. Whoa. Gonna add some stereo stuff going on. Oh, you can turn it off maybe. There you go, you can turn the stereo on and off there. That's cool. Envelope, we can control the extent to which the envelope affects the filter frequency. Oh, this is what? The amount. Okay. Not gonna be able to hear it with the LFO. So it responds to input level. That's cool. All right. So you can decide how long it takes for the effect to come in and release. Next. Glue compressor. Sweet. This is an awesome sounding compressor styled after the Universal Audio Teletronics LA2A, and this is going to do the same thing we talked about earlier with the other compressor, in that we are going to turn down the sound when we hit a specific threshold. So it's not doing anything when the threshold's all the way up, and when we lower the threshold we get gain reduction here. So the peak of this sound, the beginning of the sound, is louder than the end of the sound, right? The bass also, we can demonstrate this. So the beginning of the sound in the bass is a lot louder than the end of the sound. You can see the gain reduction reduce. So if we want the beginning to be the same volume as the end, what we can do is turn down the beginning and turn up the end. Rather, turn up the whole sound. We get a lot more even sound then. So you can control how a sound starts, sustains, and stops with a compressor. You're like shaping the volume of the sound. Also, a glue compressor is this one. It's going to add a little bit of tonal quality to it, just like the LA2A does. I can show you the LA2A here. This is what the LA2A looks like. It's got a nice, rich harmonic sound to it. Cool. Okay, let's move on. Saturator. Oh, that's awesome. We have the saturator. So the saturator is part of our timbre changing tools. We can add distortion. This can also act like a clipper, which is going to be like a really hard ceiling for a compressor. And this saturator is going to sound great on pretty much everything. Turn down the output. There's with it, here's without it. Just adds that, like, that extra energy in there. Alright, this is getting long, so I think I'm gonna do another video on the kilohertz one, just so keep this under like an hour video. But yeah, we're at 30 minutes. I hope that gives you a good idea of what the different plugins are that you have within Ableton Lite and how you might use them. I might just have fun here making some weird sounds for like the last minute. Shoot, the last thing I wanted to show you about was the routing. We'll do that later. Alright, have fun making weird sounds.